Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy, a journey through intuition, wisdom, and loving insight. My name is Khunzi. If you've journeyed with me before, welcome back, and thank you all for being here with me. The first thing I heard was alone. You're alone, and they're alone. I knew I was walking into a love reading. I had a conversation with Spirit, asking for permission to do a love reading. I feel like I got laughed at a little bit. We had a little bit of a giggle because it's as if I came up with this idea and Spirit was like, oh, you think you came up with this idea yourself? Because the truth of the matter is that for about a week and a half, I've been hearing songs. I have been feeling this presence around me, not so much watching me, but getting closer and thinking out loud, if I could put it that way. And the main message has really been an understanding that there's no turning back, even though there's been no physical advancement, there's no turning back. And there's also this energy around something that used to exist in the dream world, very much in the subconscious. I want to put it this way in terms of your perspective, is in a state that is difficult to believe, but difficult not to desire and hold hope for. And I saw 15454 on the clock, which says that even though you're still alone, something's changed in the way that this connection is being contemplated. And 212 says that this is the result when two people come into union individually at the same time. I mean, this is when divine timing aligns, and now you're facing each other rather than mirroring each other and triggering each other into growth. And when I say trigger, I'm not talking about it in this negative sense. I'm reluctant to use the word karma, because karma itself, we know that it doesn't have negative connotations, but it can. So this is karmic in the sense that, I'm using the word karmic in the correct sense of the word, not in this negative karmic sense of the word. I'm talking about the growth through learning through each other that each individual has gone through and actually has, yes, put themselves through individually through choice, because the twos also speak to me about choice, but that it's in this reciprocal admiration of each other that one has been a teacher to the other and the other has been a teacher to their counterpart. This is how you have played a part in each other's healing. And this is how you have each co-created your vision of what loving union and partnership feels like and looks like. At the same time, when this idea was planted in your heart and in your mind, you were still very disconnected from what it was to be a healthy and balanced individual that knows how to connect with their own sense of inner peace and knows how to build a life from scratch, is what I'm hearing. And it's reminding me of that movie From Scratch. I can't remember what happens there. I have the numbers 4, 5, 6 99. And when I saw these numbers, 456 gave me this internal process that's been going on over time. So it's like being this meditated concept, okay, that's now changing. And the 6 is speaking to me about karmic generosity and this reciprocation, okay, the reciprocal nature of this journey, this process, this exchange. And also now this is the order of the growth, 4, 5, 6, and the 2 9s took me straight to all the 9s in the tarot. The 9 of Wands, the 9 of Swords, the 9 of Pentacles, the 9 of Cups, and it gave it to me in this order. And 9 being now the Hermit, and I had to pause to find the Hermit because I couldn't remember which was the 9th card in the major arcana. And as I was searching for the 9th card, I heard, and this has been the hardest part. And so there's been this progression through all the 9s. Perhaps someone here has a life path number 9. And the 9 of Wands speaks of, and I want you to please take note of the order of these events. But the 9 of Wands represents this feeling of like, it's a wounded warrior, yes, but this knowing that you're a person that's still walking with grief. And so observing in yourself that you're still going through a process of grieving. Okay, the self-awareness around loss and needing time to heal. And also realizing that this will be worth it. And then 9 of Swords, working through the fears, working through feelings of inadequacy, working through feelings of, inadequacy comes through so strongly. And so this is a fear that you are not enough and that you are not going to be able to present yourself as enough. And then going through this whole other process of, now that this idea has been planted in your heart and in your mind, how will life ever actually feel fully satisfying while you still have these feelings of inadequacy within yourself? Which took you to the 9 of Pentacles. And the 9 of Pentacles being, okay, so now I'm going to retreat back into my own world and see how I'm going to build myself up. And so I see that this is going to be a big process. It's going to be a big part of my life, but this is not a process that I can circumvent if I know what my ultimate desired outcome is. And again, thoughts around, even if it's not this particular individual, these qualities have been planted in my heart and mind. And so I now have a dedication to grow myself, to grow my skills, to build up my strength, and to prove my capabilities to myself so that I can feel worthy should this day ever come. I am my only hope. And then through to the 9 of Cups, this progression towards this place where you start needing to clear your world of people, places, and things that no longer serve you. This was a long process in itself. To clear your space and start really getting in touch with what love is and what love means. And through this process, you not only built up your self-confidence with the foundation that you had formed for yourself. So much is coming through, so much emotion. I feel like I'm transmuting a lot as I speak. That's why all the breaths have not been running. But this has been the part of your journey where you've really considered and got really in touch and integrated the concept of self-love. And then moving through this kind of rainbow season is what I want to call it. This rainbow season of realizing all the beautiful ways in which this improves your life, your internal feelings of well-being, your connection to peace, and how it has become this sort of inner propellant of even more of this goodness that you've been cultivating in your life. And I feel like that's what brings us to this point of alone. And I feel like even though the contexts of your life appear to have been experienced differently, the journey has been magnificently similar. But the hardest part has been getting out of the hermit phase. Because what happens and what's happened with this progression through these nines, okay, something else is coming up about nines. Something else that's happened through the progression of these nines is that all of this growth has happened individually and has happened in connection with someone that you are not in touch with, and in a way that cannot be explained to anyone else. Especially because, one, you do not want to taint the journey. Two, you have not wanted to appear insane, crazy. Insane came out first. Crazy, I feel like, is actually a valid feeling to claim. Because to believe in something like this, you have to be crazy. And then go take yourself through the process of undoing this judgment on yourself, this judgment upon yourself of crazy, because again, how would you even have reached this point if you weren't a believer in this type of love and this type of connection? And I want to go back to the word connection, because something else you've discovered is the true meaning of love. And this is a hurdle that you had to overcome to discover what love is. Because through this very deep and independent journey, that's how you've really managed to heal your own connection to love. And to realize that it was always there. And to realize that you had no chance of finding it through someone before getting in touch with it individually. And while this process feels like it's taken a hell of a long time, you find yourself currently feeling so grateful. My heart is beating so fast. You find yourself feeling so grateful because you would not be such a clear observer of their presence and their essence in this time in your life had you not trusted and backed yourself through this journey against the odds of rationality. From skeptic to keen observer, that is both of you. The candle that I've had lit next to me, I've had it lit for about 3 days, and I'm not saying constantly, it's just become the candle that I use for readings. And what this candle has represented to me, it was a gift, but what this candle has represented to me is it was meant to be a celebration of new life. Okay, so this representing a lot of hopes built up. Okay? And the relationship from which it stemmed, it's not related to what I'm talking about. The relationship from which it stemmed has since faded. And I had this candle and I felt like I should start burning this candle. I didn't know how it was going to burn. I always felt like I need to have it on a sort of a plate, like a piece of cardboard actually, to let it burn on that so that it doesn't spill over onto the table. And you know how a candle, if it's not a normal like candlestick as such, and it's got more body, it tends to build a pool of wax as it melts inward. So this is probably about day 3. And I wasn't fully conscious of the fact that this candle represented a form of closure for me. I wasn't fully cognizant of that, but it was like, I was subconsciously aware, especially because of my readiness to light it. And when I opened my eyes, just a brief moment ago, before I started talking about this, the candle just finally collapsed and all the wax on the table, because for the first time I forgot to put the piece of cardboard underneath it, and it's just spilled all over the table, but also in the most beautiful way, because the timing for me speaks to all of these most recent shifts. Okay, so the most real shift that you have had, you've tried this a few times where you shed relationships that no longer serve you, connections that no longer serve you, and again, people, places, and things, mindsets, behaviors, all of those things. And of late, with the entrance of this new energy and the strengthening and intensifying of this presence in your life has sort of kind of come into your space and flexed its way out very gently, but also very knowingly, in the sense that it knows and you know that it's time to make room. It's time to make room, not just in your physical life, but also in your mindset, for old behaviors to fall away, not in the sense of being put under pressure in terms of time, but really, and not in a test kind of way. This has not felt like a test. It's presented like the tests used to present, but it's actually just been everything that I've gone through and all the times that I have learned how to remove energies that no longer serve me. This is the time where I finally clear those things. And this time where I finally clear them meets me when the time where I'm also finally ready to stop explaining myself so much and also be feeling like a knowingness around who I am. All these things are meeting at this checkpoint. That's the word I got. I actually don't know what every single word that I talk about is, what it means. This means a barrier or manned entrance, typically at a border, where security checks are carried out on travelers. And so this gives me that sense of we're going on a journey, okay? And now you're at this checkpoint. And because you're at this checkpoint, there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of traffic. There are people that you're crossing paths with and stuff that you've got to take out of your luggage. And there's just all this stuff happening, but it's happening for you almost seamlessly. And you're like the observer of all of these changes that are being brought right in front of you to be checked. You know, it's like you have a sorting box. Check. Nope. Leave behind. Yes, that goes with. Nope. That goes no. I mean, also asking yourself some of these things that are being checked. Like, how long has this been sitting here? Nope. Outbox. You know, it's like that. And the experience has felt somewhat uncanny. But this has also given you the confidence that you kind of know where you are, why you're there, and you have a really strong sense of what's left to resolve within yourself to pass through this gate. And I just got the goddess Hecate. And you know what she just said? She's explaining how many times she has manned a gate for you. And although she had no doubt, she is quite impressed by how swiftly you are moving through this particular one, because this one has been the most life-changing. No joke. This candle, I don't know why I didn't blow it out, because I usually blow them out if I'm not using them during the reading. But then I started hearing water spilling, and I checked the table and the wax was starting to spill onto the floor. So I got up and I blew out the candle, and I was like, did I blow it out too quickly? And then I was like, no, you didn't. And then I saw the smoke coming up out of the blown out candle. And I felt this message to say, that's it. That's it. We're done. No looking back. No regrets. No questioning. You are exactly where you need to be right now. And from this moment going forward, you will know every time you ask yourself, every time the question arises, you will know exactly who you are and what you deserve. And that's because you have witnessed the result of giving these things to yourself, giving yourself doing the things that you deserve. And so you are very much in touch and aligned with what your expectations are of anyone else who comes into your life. And then I heard the quiet before the storm. And this threw me off a bit. But then I Googled it and I realized that I didn't say the calm before the storm, which speaks to a period of calm that comes before a time of activity, excitement and violence, etc. And I found something here which is a story I've read before. And it says, why did Jesus say to quiet the storm? And it says, the disciples woke Jesus as they were terrified for their lives. They display a lack of faith as they question Jesus. Don't you care that we're about to drown? Jesus stood up and commanded the wind and waves by simply saying, be quiet, be still. As he did so, there was complete calm. And this immediately took me back to part of my contemplations from before I opened this container, and I had forgotten about it. But what happened was I was negotiating with Spirit around this love reading. And one of the things that Spirit asked was like, why are you apprehensive about love readings? And I said, well, because I don't like to give people false hope. And Spirit said, well, is this false hope? Or is it coming through because it's true? And I said, it's true. And I felt silly. I felt silly for approaching it this way. But this is what happens. And I've shared this on the channel before, that there's an experience where you experience resistance before expressing something, not realizing that the resistance you're feeling is actually a resistance from the energy of those who are to receive it that are not ready for it, or that don't feel ready for it. And so then they project a resistance, and this presents as a resistance from oneself, which can deter you from actually speaking the truth. And so I recognize this in myself. It's something I'm working through. But I know that this is all true. I know that it's all true. Because I'm experiencing it the way I experience all of my other work. And things that are materializing, that I've spoken into my world, that have materialized. Barring divine timing, because sometimes there's this struggle with timing where we want it to work a certain way. This is a journey. This is a healing journey. But one of the things that I concluded when I was talking to Spirit was, I'm sharing this because it's true. And to whoever's listening to this, I don't want to give you a standard disclaimer to say, if this doesn't resonate, let it go. You know who you are if I'm speaking to you. From the beginning, you would have followed, you know exactly whether this channeling is about you or not. You'll also know, because we live by choice, you'll also know whether this is what you've wanted or not. Should you find that this is something that you want and that you've wanted, and something that you are vaguely aware of, please don't be discouraged if this is not the energy that you have been feeling currently. What I mean by this is, if you feel like certain things of yours have experienced delays, or if you feel like your growth is not where you want it to be, or whatever it is that you feel, please take this in, because the way I've connected with the collective and the way I've come to understand, and this is the way that it's real, at least to me, and at least in the way that I'm communicating to you. There are certain thresholds that we expand into as a collective. And whoever will ever know, okay, it's a mystery, who makes these moves first. You sometimes wonder with the collective, we share like words, like there are these keywords that will be looming around the mouths of the collective for a period. And all these synchronicities we pick up on. You don't know whether, like, who knows where this information was dropped first. It's actually hard to say. It's hard to say. But what isn't hard to say is that we move together as a collective and we support each other. And this is what my video that I would have posted a day ago, yesterday, I posted it tonight. I'm posting it tonight, but it'll be out when this comes out. That'll be, okay, anyway. This is what the video that I shared about transmuting solar plexus energy on behalf of the collective was about. Because I have an understanding, especially after completing that reading, that there are parts of the collective, people in the collective, individuals that are experiencing fear and that are going through feelings of anger. And there are those that are out there doing their work and showing up physically, you know, expressing themselves. And what this can do, let's say to the latter, is that they can sometimes feel like, you know, maybe some of them feel like it's not their problem. You know, we don't know. We don't know. And I don't want to go too deep into that. But then there are those that feel left behind. Those that feel like they kind of got forgotten or something like that. And that's not the case. We can assist each other, and we do assist each other. And sometimes we don't even know how much we're helping each other. Sometimes I'll be dealing with an energy and I'll feel dragged down and I'll feel heavy for a number of days or maybe half a day. And somewhere along the way it lifts. Without any effort on my part, it lifts. And in that moment, it's like I know that someone out there worked through this energy and transmuted it on my behalf. And so I've benefited from this many times. I have benefited from this many times. I have been carried by the collective. There's a certain clarity that enters the, do I want to call it the ethers? The ether. This clarity enters the ether and permeates my space, and I receive clarity without effort. I definitely have had to relax and, Four of Swords it, like kind of stop fighting and stop struggling and just stop trying to find the truth and just rest, watch some Netflix, dance a bit, listen to music. Sometimes it takes that, but not conscious thought and forcing this resistance to release. It's kind of not forcing it, and this clarity finds me. And so what I want to say is that there are perhaps others that go first. But let this be your hope that it can happen. Because again, with this process of showing up, and I feel more and more that it was so important that I shared that transmutation and solar plexus energy, we need to show up in order to see a lot of these changes. And I sometimes wonder to myself whether all this solar plexus transmutation has anything to do with the things that have been happening with the sun, but that's just a sidebar kind of thing, comment. But I believe that's why it's so important, because this matter is materializing. And I know that this is a matter that seemed almost impossible. It seemed like you were placing your hopes and wishes in something that was just so unreasonably dreamy. Okay? But you have manifested this internally. You have dealt with it internally. And you have risen to the occasion, step by step, to get yourself to this point. And because you've seen other things begin to materialize, this has given you even more confidence about this particular matter materializing. And so I want to thank you for keeping this dream in your heart and working through your mind to clear the barriers that you needed to clear to be able to keep the door open for this matter to materialize in the 3D into what we call real life. This is what fairy tales are made of. If you think about all of these fairy tales that we grow up reading about, watching movies about, there's actually always a very dark side to the story. Even if you look at Cinderella, even if you look at Snow White, there's always this dark, this side of the story. It's actually half the story. It's half. It's split down the middle, except it's not what we focus on because we're in it for the fairy tale. That's what this feels like, and that's how this is presenting itself to me. That's exactly, and it's literally, again, now it's morphing in my vision into the yin and yang. Because the dark side has a little bit of, it has hope. And it's that hope that comes through the dark side that allows the light side to live and grow. And even though the light side always has this dark dot on it, that dark dot is needed for the entire story to happen. They're all a story of transformation. And this is making me so emotional because for a moment I felt like I was just riding this channeling, and it's this all like hunky-dory story and fairy tales and, rainbows and sunshine. And the reality of life is that life does not always feel this way. But what you have done is that you have taken a dream and you have embedded it in your material life. And you have done all the work, picked up on all this wisdom and integrated it into your life to keep you steady, to be able to carry this piece of heaven into earth, onto earth, and into your life. And the story is going to bring such hope and such a sense of wonder to other people's dreams. Because they do come true. And the slight dark spot I want to say about a dream coming true is we tend to feel like we need evidence to be able to shout it from the hilltop. But I want to say, when this materializes, shouting it from the hilltops is going to be the last thing on your mind. I have so much emotion moving through me. I'm not even sure how I'm going to come down from this reading. But I shall. And I want to say that the reason it's going to be the last thing on your mind is because that's just not how you have carried yourself through this journey. And as I begin to close this, what I want to say is, even though I'm not sure how I'm going to come down from this, for you, keep doing what you're doing. Stay present. This channeling, above everything, is a confirmation and an opportunity to touch base with a community that's experiencing the realness of this with you. That's the purpose of this. This is not to derail you or to build up this raging excitement in your body. And, I can't tell you how I feel right now. And so this, more than anything, is a confirmation that you are doing the right thing. You are on the right track. Keep doing it. And I have a note here that says, allow this other person time to work through any of the last problems that they are solving. And this is not to say that there are problems that they are solving, because what I meant to say was problem solving. There's a problem solving that's taking place. Of what nature? This is of integrative nature. So this is, how will I integrate this? This is, how do I take everything I know and translate it into life? So this is very much waiting for information. Okay, so I realize now another part I've been playing in this channeling. This integration is a waiting to receive information intuitively on how these puzzle pieces will fit. This is a very masculine, active, action-based sort of problem solving. We are in the how stages. The how, because this thing is multi-layered. So it's not just about, let's say, picking up the phone. There's a lot to navigate to bridge the gap between what's been dreamed, what is known, and this material world. So it's really finding not so much the words, but integrating the facts that we know, so that this is not such a jittery and pleasant but uncomfortable situation, feeling, process. So it's really around that. And I feel like what I've been doing is expressing this truth into the space, because I was called to express this information and to channel these words through me. And I'm sure you've heard, as I have so many cards next to me and I have not touched any of them. I didn't expect this, but I did have a full-on conversation with Spirit leading up to this. And I feel like my guides were like, great, maybe you should start setting a time to meet us, regularly. See. But I feel like this is, I suppose, as someone who identifies as feminine and intuitive and etc., this is what I've come to put in so that it can be felt, so that it can resonate, so that it can be heard, bring some clarity, bring some movement, increase courage, transform hope into knowledge. Knowledge? Yes, knowledge. Hope puts it in a future that feels like a maybe. This has been an interesting experience for me. And I have these tears of joy coming out of my eyes. And I also, the nervousness with which I opened the container dissipated during the reading. It's as if the more words I spoke, the more that this giddiness turned into a knowing and a sharing. And I feel like this is already well received. 4224. We have had a meeting of hearts and a meeting of minds. Before I pull some of these Moonology manifestation cards, because they tend to have a lot of messages around setting intentions, given that we are nearing the new moon within the next week, it feels like. Spirit wants me to share, for anyone who, again, feels somewhat out of touch. We can sometimes take a channeling like this, a reading like this, information like this, and over-fixate on it, which almost comes about, and I've experienced this, it comes from a belief that it's possible to circumvent all the internal balancing of masculine and feminine and circumvent it to be able to attain this kind of union in the material world. Okay? And what they want to say to that is, as within, so without. This is an ancient truth. As within, so without. And so if there are any guarantees that you are working towards, and if you want to reduce delays, internally is where this development can be hastened. The words that they've made me use today, because after I say the word, I'm like checking, like, was that even the right word? But that's what I heard. And that's the same truth that's playing out here. Another thing I just heard, I've laid out the first card, but the next thing I heard was unexpected. But there are personal views that you hold regarding your current appearance. What I'm hearing is that They want you to connect. Allow yourself to connect more with how your counterpart sees you, how they view you. This would be no different from the ways that you have handled your growth and development through them throughout your journey. This is no different. And I'm not suggesting that you need to change. But I'm suggesting that this is one of the things, I'm saying that this is one of the things that you need to clear up regarding your sense of adequacy. And this time they said leave the in out of inadequacy. This is to clear up your sense of adequacy. You're about to grow, okay, the word that came out was grow, and I'm going to go back to that. But what I wanted to say was, you're about to grow at a rapid rate. Those words pushed through to the point where I forgot what I wanted to say, which clearly was not what was meant to be said. But rather the point that I was heading towards was that you're going to see these shifts that you've been wanting to see in terms of your physical appearance. They're going to be happening naturally. So they form a part of your manifestations. And so don't fixate on them. Keep your intention, but don't fixate on them. There's something around timing where you feel like there's certain things that you need to clear up before this thing comes together. So they're saying release that. They're saying release it. It's time to see yourself in truth rather than using the lens that you for so long have become used to using as you see yourself. So they're saying become open to adopting their lens. Their lens. You are sharing lenses. You are sharing lenses. I think that's why you're able to see so much about each other, because I see that. And when I say sharing lenses, it's, as an example, for so long you believed in this person while holding an awareness that there are areas around their own personal confidence and their own feelings of inadequacy. You have shared with them how you see them. Okay, so even though they've experienced this unconsciously, they have benefited from this because, again, you are co-manifesting each other. And so it's partly through the confidence you've had about them and how you view them that they have built up their own sense of personal confidence. Yes, they've risen to the occasion as well. This story is very similar to yours. I feel like I'm stating so much of the obvious, but these are the words that are coming out. The story is so similar to yours. And I get the sense that your spirit guides, the other world, the other space, is so ready to impress you. They are so ready to impress you. They are, and they're enjoying watching you as you move through this experience. There is a sense that there is a part of them that is living through you. And that filled me with so much emotion. And I'm reminded that this is the gift of life on earth. This is the gift on life of earth, that we get to experience life in the flesh. That we are not just observers. And I don't want to use the word just there, but you know, we enjoy, we receive so much guidance, so much support. Okay? We receive so much of this. We are the ones in the flesh. We are the ones who get to enjoy this living experience, including the struggles, because we are the ones that get to make choices that lead to transformation. We are living. We are living, and living is a gift. And that's why spirit guides, ancestors, that's why they are so generous, because this is how they live through us. My readings have been making me so emotional lately. Gosh. This first card says, full moon in Aries. Cool your emotions. Full moon in Aries says to me, this is a time of revelation around a new beginning. Aries being the first sign in the zodiac. The youngest. I don't want to say immature because that's not nice to put it that way, but I hope you understand what I mean by that. I mean that as you move through the zodiac, Aries is the first. Next comes Taurus, then comes Gemini, and as you go, let's say Taurus already comes in with the energy of Aries, and then Gemini comes in with the energy of both Aries and Taurus, and then it culminates in Pisces. And so Aries is the first. And so that's why Aries is able to take action so quickly without overthinking. And they're saying during this time, if you look at you can see the moon and these circles. This is the second time this reading comes up. There's another reading that I've sort of prepared and I haven't put it together yet because I can't even explain it here, okay? So this moon has got these circles around it. It almost looks like a target. And so it feels, this card takes me a lot. It feels very Sagittarius for some reason. It feels very Sagittarius, like you just want to go. And they're saying cool your emotions because this can feel like a very passionate time. But it's important to maintain peace, balance, and harmony. 5222. So this is a time of change. And the 3 twos say keep your decision making, your choices, and your alignment steady and in balance. Those words are coming through quite a lot. They really want you to maintain your steadiness, your peace, your sense of balance, and your sense of harmony, because this is actually where you're manifesting from. And if there's anyone who has been struggling with finding this integrated sense of bodily balance, where you can actually feel viscerally how your flesh and your emotions are feeling, and feeling mentally aligned with what's happening with your emotions, and feeling empowered to take action. This feeling of being settled within your body for an extended period. And so that when things start to throw you off, you kind of conscious of that shift, and you have this memory in your body of how to come back and what to rest into your body. I'm going to leave a link below for one of my once-off products on Patreon. It's got to do with, it says, accelerating alchemy through the 4 elements. I think I did this one quite a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago. But the information from there has actually stayed with me. And it's helped me so much. And I don't think I've spoken about it a lot, maybe once or twice on the channel. And I'm sharing it because I believe that really integrating how to bring the body into balance physically, so not just working mentally and not just working on your concepts of your emotion and all of that, working with how these feelings actually manifest in your body and creating these shifts through almost retreating, coming back into your body through knowledge of how these elements are working in it. So I'll leave that there. And another thing, that I just wanted to add about this is that getting to know my body this way, how it's really helped is that as an empath, I'm a strong empath. There's been this long period of hermit that I have lived through. And what comes with that is that when I would go out and spend time with other people or whatever, I'd find myself needing like 2-3 days to come back into balance. And of late, I've felt almost like this specific information kind of helped me and remind my body how to work with that energy while I'm in it, and to kind of feel what's happening in real time in my surroundings, how it's affecting me, so that the work of gathering my energy and building it up again in the days that follow, that work is not so difficult anymore, because it's kind of like ongoing, and so there's not such a big build-up. It's as if I would go out into public or into other places, and almost like my body would tense up with this knowledge that I'm surrounded by all this energy that doesn't work as hard on itself as I do on myself. And then it's just this, they're describing it to me like oil and water for some weird reason. And so then, yeah, I see it now. So you know how you have water and then you drop oil into it, and it's like the oil forms this bubble, and nothing is like meshing fully. So it's like this oil forms a protective bubble, but that protective bubble, it's like, it's not actually, you kind of want it to morph into a form that allows it to learn from its water that surrounds it in real time, rather than remaining this untouchable bubble that almost like feels like it cannot breathe amongst, like in the middle of the water. Like you kind of want to be able to be how you are, who you are, at ease, even around other people. It's that kind of thing. And I don't touch on this topic in the video. I'm just sharing how it's working in my life, especially as a manifester through my own body. The next card I have is last quarter moon in Taurus. Be proud of yourself. This is around healing your heart, but also I looked up when the last quarter moon in Taurus will be, and it will be in about a month from now on June 18th. And so they're saying that this upcoming month in your life is very much around reflecting on how far you've come, because there's still a sense that you push yourself quite hard still, okay? And part of this, it's like mentally you've recognized that there is no need to push yourself the way you do, okay? Something about the way you do stuff doesn't require such heavy output from you. You've found ways. But a part of this pushing yourself comes from previous mental activity born of feeling like things are taking long. And so they want you to sort of replenish your heart with more positive, they want you to confirm to your heart how well you've done, how much you've done, and how proud of yourself you are. This is not something you'll often hear from anywhere else. And I feel like I just heard your other person confirming. That's why the word confirm came out, because I was struggling with affirm and confirm. Your other person has been confirming how proud they are of you a lot. And as I say this, it feels like a remembrance of the fact that this has been said to me a number of times in the past week or two. And the last card I have here is first quarter moon in Leo. Be humble. The first thing I saw was the coloring of this card, and the person in this card in the shadow still remaining still. I needed clarity on this card, and the card that I pulled is a fairy card, give and receive. And if you look at this, and the thing that drew me here is this be humble, because it felt like cautionary almost. But if you look at her, she's giving wishes out of one hand and receiving wishes through the other. This speaks to her intentions. These two cards together are also speaking about karma, and they're speaking about how things are created. And they're speaking about, you see this purplish color of the card with the orange at the lower area, goes back to what I've mentioned before around how we create, being things that almost are visioned in the third eye, and the corresponding chakra is the sacral chakra, and so they're birthed in the sacral chakra. So these two chakras communicate directly, and they actually communicate through you, but I say directly because of the rapid speed at which you're manifesting currently. And so they're saying that, again, reiterating this message of maintaining your peace, balance, and harmony within yourself and within your body, because this is still in the process of creation. So yes, it's materializing, but not everything is set in stone yet, right? Nothing will ever be set in stone. In this case, I just mean some of the things that you are in the process of manifesting, you're still creating them. So maybe even through this reading, there are new visions that are coming about. So they're saying there, take care, because given where you come from, okay, so this is very past life sort of like, and also in this current life, a lot of your experiences have been karmic, and this is how you've grown. And so they're giving you a message to not lose yourself. And this is not like you're about to lose yourself completely. I just mean take care through this period, because you're still creating. And her hands, with this movement from one to the other, and they're not going directly, it feels very much like the Temperance card. As I was searching for this card, I noticed I wasn't using the traditional deck, because this is the card deck that I'd prepared, the Light Seers Tarot. This is what I'd prepared for this reading, even though now we only have this one card that I chose. But look at it beside this first quarter moon in Leo, Be Humble card. Look at the coloring. It's amazing, because they're both sitting, and although there's no sun and moon on the Moonology card, it's like the bottom is mainly sort of an orangish color, and the purple, it's like the orange and the purple are sort of communicating in a similar way through these cards. And so this is Temperance energy. If you look at how she's also balancing wishes in her hands with wisdom that she has grown through and developed through working through her own karma. And so they just want you to be cognizant of that as you continue to create, and to be careful of what you make of the visions in your third eye. Okay, so the intuitive visions and these things that you sort of craft through your third eye, because you do, when you're daydreaming and you are, whether in the shower or wherever you daydream and picture things coming together. So while you don't manage what happens in your third eye, what happens in your third eye is managed through your beliefs and your sense of safety. So that's now the chakras that are on either end of the two that I mentioned. So your third eye, above that is the crown chakra, which is where your beliefs are. Okay, so your mental activity and your mindset. And then your sacral chakra just below that is your root chakra. So it actually all plays a part, but it's to say that, again, keep your heart clear, keep showing up, keep hearing what your mental activity sounds like, keep monitoring yourself, keep doing what you've been doing. They're saying that it's important to keep doing what you're doing, and to not think that let's say you've arrived and that everything will be fine from now, you're still creating. So still take care. You are also sharing with each other. That's what I'm getting, especially from the Temperance card. You are also sharing from each other. And I believe I've shared before how I feel about contracts. I think I mentioned it in the video before this. So this is not so much to say this is or isn't a contract, but more than anything, it's the exercising of free will between two individuals to embark on a journey to grow through each other and realize this connection in the material world. And so it's more than anything, more than a contract, it's a choice that is aligned. And just for clarity, this isn't about changing anyone else other than yourself. I'm going to close this reading here. Thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate your presence. Sending you love.